Alright guys, welcome back to the channel, and in this video we're going to be working on this 1954 Buick Special. So it was at least 6 years ago where I put out a $500 challenge on a 1979 Camaro. Basically had a Camaro that didn't run, drive, or stop, and I wanted to get it running, driving, and stopping for under $500. If you go back and watch those videos, the budget just exploded and clearly it didn't happen. So we're going to try it again on this 54 Buick. So I've learned a little bit since 6 years ago, and I know that this is no small block Chevy second gen Camaro, and parts on this will be a little bit more expensive. So we have a $1,000 budget this time, okay? So $1,000 to get this car to run, to drive, and to stop reliably. Now you can do it on like a total shoestring budget with like a boat tank and all that kind of stuff, but we're gonna do it right, okay? So if it needs a part, we're gonna try to fix the part that it has or replace it. We're not gonna, you know, hack up or, you know, cobble up some, you know, temporary duct tape fix. I mean, we're gonna do it right, okay? But this Buick has been sitting since at least the 90s. I know the last sticker it had, I believe this is 92, and I found a sticker inside that was 93. But I just love it. I don't know why I'm drawn to it. It's kind of crappy and looks like poop, but it's really cool. In my opinion, it's really cool. So if you remember on the channel, I did have a video of power washing this car a couple weeks ago. And usually when I buy cars, I buy them and I put them back up for sale. If they sell for more than what I paid, I send them along the road. Sometimes they don't, and when they don't, well, we'll put some work into them. And that's what we're gonna do on this one. Now I'll be honest, I wasn't planning on making videos on this car. I thought it would just go away, but I like it too much, so we're gonna work on it. I did do some work off camera, so I did get it to start. I mean, the typical stuff, you put a breaker bar in the engine, make sure it turns. I took the valve covers off, I made sure all the valves moved, and then put a battery to it, filed the points down, put gas down the carburetor, and it fired. I did get a video of that though, so here's a video of that. That's where we are on this car. So there's a few things that I'm hoping will make it so that the budget stays under $1,000. So I'm not planning on buying tires because the tires are under good. It came with a good battery. I have oil already for it, so, and all the fluids. So hopefully we can stay under 1,000 that way. But we already got it to run, so that's good. So let's see if we can get it to run a little bit longer. And then also let's see if we can't get a cooling system in it. Before we get any farther, let's change on this oil. This is a huge drain plug. That's big. Let's see. I checked on the dipstick and it was good, but look how big this drain plug is. That's big. Just old, nasty, and black. Here's the oil filter housing. Basically it screws up into the block like that, has a filter inside of it, and yeah, it came off really well. It was full of oil. I drained it for about an hour. The oil flavor we're gonna have is Rotella 10W40, and then always a quart of Marble Mystery. I didn't pay for either of these because, well, I paid for them, but they were in a bundle on an estate sale that I went to and already sold something out of that bundle to make all my money back. So technically they're free, so for this challenge or whatever, we're gonna say that they were free. So we're gonna put the new filter in to the old housing and fill the engine back up. I got 6 quarts out of it. I'm pretty sure it's 6 quarts with the filter change is what it calls for, so that's what I have. Oil is in, so is the Marble Mystery. I almost forgot to take this gasket off. Make sure you take these off, but look at this thing. It is
pretty much trash. This filter is cool. It's actually a metal cartridge instead of, you know, the paper inlet's inside the metal. It's a little different than what I put in it, but should act the same. It's been in there a long time. Check out this sludge I found on the bottom of it though. So clearly it was doing its job. Alright, you guys saw already that we got the car to run, and it runs pretty good. But we need to get some heat in it, and we need to make it run for longer. That requires a cooling system. So there's two problems. One, I went to fill up the radiator just to, you know, get engine in, or I went to fill up the radiator just to get water in the block and all that kind of stuff, but there's a hole. But there's a hole in this radiator hose. This has been chewed up like crazy by some rat or something. So I gotta get a new one. I was gonna get a new one anyway, but just now it's sooner than later. The other thing is, this water pump is stuck. So I'm gonna get it off, see if I can't get it to free up on the bench. I don't want to put a used water pump on it, but at the same time, you know, that's $200 in my budget. That's 20% just for one part. So I may do it, I may not, I don't know. We'll just have to see. But the cooling system has come apart. I'm draining the coolant now. It looks really good. So we'll get some hoses off and see what everything else looks like. Check out this hose. I think the springs rusted through it before the mouse chewed it. I don't think the mouse chewed it. I think the springs rusted through it, but it was leaking from up here. Not too great looking. Let's get this water pump off. See if we can't free it up. I have this feeling rust in the cooling system might be an issue in the future. Of course, that looks like part of the hose, but still. I'm gonna take this off. Look at the thermostat. Hopefully I don't break those bolts. Check this out. I've never seen one like this. It's a literal flapper valve as a thermostat. That's weird. Maybe it's a Buick thing. I don't know. Maybe it's broken. I don't know. I don't know if it'll even come out. It's so rusted in there. Nope. It's got a spring. I don't know. It needs replaced, whatever it is. I think I figured out why the water pump wasn't spinning. You ready for this? Oh. Sadly, broke off a couple bolts. But yeah, she's a little crusty. What do you think? I'm wondering if I can get that impeller free, if it'll still go. I don't know. Trish. And the cooling ports aren't completely full, but it is nasty. I also broke off two of these bolts in here when the heads just popped. There's really not much I could have done about it. I feel like somebody had tried already and broke one off. I don't know. That one's still good, so looks like I only have two to get out. Of course, they're the bottom two. So the one piece that I got in the mail was a fuel pump. So I elected, instead of paying $90 for a rebuild kit for the stock one, we're gonna go with the $20 clickety-clack electric pump. So I don't have any other pieces, but I want to have the engine run a little bit more, get some heat in it, get some heat cycles on it. So I have this ghetto rigged gas system. So here's my tank, it runs up to a pump, and then the pump goes to the carburetor. So, and then I run it off of the battery. I'm hoping this will work. The pump actually came with clamps and fittings and all that kind of stuff. It was a fairly good deal. I'm hoping this isn't too high for the gas to get pumped up. But anyway, we have it hooked up to the carburetor. I'm going to test it first and see if we have any leaks. I'm pretty sure that's going to leak at the carb, just because I think the top of that's stripped. Anyway, we're going to try it out. Well, it looks like the only leak I have is there's a little plug right here to set the float level, and it's missing. I forgot to put that in, but it chugged away and it seemed like it grabbed fuel fairly well. There's the plug. I'll put that back in and then we'll hook the battery up and see how it goes. Alright, battery's hooked up. So the cool part about this Buick is you just turn the ignition on right here. And then we can start it from in here. Pop fuel pump on. Or not. What's going on? Well, the ignition's on. What's the dealio? I don't understand. I don't understand. This worked last time. I wasn't in park. Who'd have thought that's gonna work? Who'd have thought? Alright, let's try this again. And the battery's dead. Come on, battery. On. Why is the choke not closed? Alright, so I got water going into the engine, and then it's just coming out the bottom and spraying everywhere. So that's maybe not working as well as I thought it was going to. So I stuck a plug in here. It blocks most of the water. You can see it's now coming out of both sides instead of just the middle, so that's going to work a lot better. Hopefully it'll splash less on the crank snout too. Alright, well, it sounds really good. I need to replace gaskets on that carb though. I have a new set that I didn't have before. Sucking gas, spraying water everywhere, but that's okay. We probably shouldn't be cooking that. Jesus, Smokey! No, don't die, don't die, don't die, don't die. We want heat in you. No. Why? were doing so good. Oh, come on. Need a longer screwdriver. This carb keeps flooding out, which I don't know why, because this fuel pump is supposed to be for a carburetor. That at all. It's a smoky. She's a smoky. I'm gonna have to take that carburetor off, do something about it. It's kind of. So this carburetor takes maybe 2 minutes to take apart. I mean, it's like 10 bolts. Anyway, I had it apart at one time and I put it back together because I didn't have the gaskets. The main gaskets I'm kind of worried about is this one, looks pretty crappy, and then this one right here. The other thing that I was kind of wondering about was it looked like the carburetor was flooding out. You know, maybe these floats aren't good. I don't know, but the needle and seat does move. I took all that stuff apart and cleaned it, so I don't know. These floats do look different than the other floats in the other carburetor that I had, but we're going to put new gaskets in it. Then we're also going to change the spark plugs and then see what we do. For the next test run, I changed all the spark plugs out. I figured if they're fouled out, they're fouled out now. They were okay. I've seen worse. I've seen better. They're just black and worn out, really. This right side was much worse than the left side. But they're old plugs. You can't buy AC Delco plugs that look like this anymore. So they probably were from the 80s, 90s, who knows. So we have new gaskets on the carburetor. We have new spark plugs in the engine. I'm gonna revamp my fuel system, I think. I think my fuel pump might be a little close to the carburetor. I don't know if that's the case, but it seems like he was pushing a little too much and was kind of overpowering it. So we're gonna revamp that a little bit and go from there. I made the outlet hose for the fuel pump a little longer, starting here and then running up through the fender to the carburetor. In a perfect world, the fuel pump would be below the gas tank and blah blah blah, but it is what it is. Hopefully that works a little bit better, but let's try firing it up again with new plugs and new gaskets on the carburetor and see if that makes any bit of a difference. Getting gas. Well, she's running way better, but still smoking. There is oil pressure, and it looks like the temp gauge works. Wish I could get it to idle. The water's starting to spray everywhere. We can get it to idle down just a tad. Water is just spraying off that bottom pulley. Yeah, it's running better. I'm kind of worried about all this, what looks like steam. Smoke coming out of the engine where the thermostat would be. We got water. She's a runner though. That's so weird. That's so strange. Maybe that's just what happens, I don't know. I can't tell if it's smoke or water vapor, because there's all this other smoke coming from everywhere else. Well, looks like we might have had a problem. I thought I saw water coming out from right here. It seems very odd that water would be coming out of there. That's so strange. Is the other side doing the same thing? No. But there's a stud in that side. Weird. Weird. Is there supposed to be a stud in this side? Never seen it. Never seen that. I mean, there's water in the head, right? So, check out this new cooling system, or as new as it's gonna get. New water pump, new thermostat, new upper hose, and new lower hose. Yeah, they're flexi hoses, but you know what? That's the only thing that I could find for this car. So we're going with flexi hoses, and also a new belt to spin everything around. I was going to fire it up and let it get hot and basically get some heat in the motor again, but I'm sidelined. This is what happened. I knew this is what was gonna happen. I knew it. So if you look over here, you have these 3 hoses coming off the engine, and basically these are for the heater and for the transmission. So let me show you the issue that I run into. See all this coolant? All this coolant came from there. You see those hoses right there? There's a little cooler at the bottom of the transmission that cools it. It's very similar to my Cadillac, and they're leaking, and I can't fill the engine with any kind of liquid because of that. You can kind of see. Here's a coolant hose right here. Let's see. You see in there? Probably not, but there's like 20 feet, I feel like, of coolant hose in this car, and it makes no sense to not just replace it. As much as it sucks, let's get it replaced. So I have a few pieces I can probably do now, but I'm gonna have to order some pieces of hose. They're fairly long. I mean, from here it goes all the way down underneath the car. I don't have any pieces that long, so I might be able to replace that one right there. But as of tonight, I am sidelined and there's nothing else I can do. I was so excited to fire it up again after getting it running the last time, but what can you do? It took almost an entire box to replace all this heater hose. So this Buick is very similar to my Cadillac, where it has separate heater hoses for the heater and also for the transmission. Yes, the transmission is cooled by water. So instead of taking the transmission fluid to the radiator to get cooled and then putting it back, it takes water from the radiator, cools the transmission, and then the water comes back. So crazy, but the way this works is the heater system goes from the bottom of the radiator up the fender to, I'm guessing there's a heater core in here that runs a defrost. Then it goes over to here to where the basically a control valve is that tells what water which way to go. I don't know. And then it comes down here, down to the bottom, which then goes to that floor heater which you guys saw already, up over the transmission to this floor heater. You can kind of see the hose right there on the floor. It goes here, and from here it runs all the way up the side of the engine back to basically the water pump. Now it probably runs in that reverse order considering that that's how heat works. All the hot is going to come out here and then the cool will come out the other way. But also there's these other 2 hoses, which in hindsight I could have just plugged all this stuff and it probably would have been fine, but you know what, let's make it work like it's supposed to. I'm here anyway. So those 2 lines go down to the transmission and then back up. There's a little like box looking thing on the bottom of it that I'm assuming the transmission fluid goes through and it cools it off that way. So anyway, the other thing is I did buy a air cleaner for this carburetor. I couldn't find a stock one. I was going to spend $200 on that, so we have a little baby one. But now, fingers crossed, we can fill this cooling system and it will hold water. Everything rubber has been changed. The only thing that will stop me dead in the water is if one of the heater core leaks, or if that leaks, or you know, there's a lot more things that leak, but at least now we can try. Alright, she's running. She actually started up pretty well. A little bit of a lifter tick, which I'm surprised about. I feel like I got enough heat in it last time, but maybe not. So far so good, run high idle, but I don't have much gas left. So we're gonna run it as long as we can. We're gonna see if something leaks, if anything leaks. We're gonna check our temp. Oil pressure's high, temperature's cold. And we're gonna leave the cap off for now. That generator doesn't like this at all. Yeah, we've already gone down some, so we'll add some more water. Much more healthy sounding than before, but we have our first casualty, which I kind of figured was gonna happen. We got leaky heat or something. So it's coming from up top and not from this box. Let me think it's this control. There's a control valve thing right here. Oh, that sucks. That sucks that that leaks. But am I surprised? No. So here's my temporary fix. Basically, I just unplugged the control valve for the heater and put a piece of old tubing from a Corvette heater core. It's 5/8, fits just fine. Didn't really leak almost any coolant at all. So we still should be good to go. I've gotten 5 gallons of fresh gas in an improved gasoline container, and we'll see how well this sucker wants to start up. Okay, fuel pump. Left the ignition on, that's perfect. Or I didn't, what? Alright, ignition is on. So now, we just wait till it gets hot. We'll see what else likes to explode. We're gonna have a little bit of fun. So I'm limited to the distance that my gas can hose reaches, because I do have the gas can on the ground instead of in the car. But it's been running for about 15 minutes and it's quieted down quite a bit. It's not smoking. The temp gauge reads right in the middle like it's supposed to be. I can squeeze the upper hose, the thermostat opens. Cooling wise, it looks like it's doing pretty good, but what I have is I have these big stops in front of the front and rear tires, and what we're gonna do, I'm just gonna put the transmission in gear and hope there's enough transmission fluid in it to see if this beast will actually move just a little bit. I just wanna make sure I have some kind of transmission, because that's the next step, is gonna be brakes and then drive it. So let's see what happens. Absolutely nothing happened when I moved the shift lever, so we're going to put some ATF in it. So you guys saw it, and moved forward and back. It took pretty much 3 quarts to get it even to respond. Two things. One, I'm not gonna put any more in it. I know it needs more. Just because I feel like it's all gonna drip out overnight. I can see it already actively leaking. And then it's also making this weird noise. You can see it dripping. Not sure what that noise is. But hey, she moved. Not bad. We got this beast to run and drive, and now we need to get this beast to stop. So, pulling these brakes apart, and they're exactly what I was hoping to see. So, I could go crazy, and I could, you know, new springs, new shoes, new drum, blah, 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 this stuff. But what I really want to do is I just want to replace, yeah, the wheel cylinders, because they're full of crap. They need rebuilt. And then the rubber lines in the back. And if I do just that, that's the bare minimum. I can scuff down these shoes. I can scuff up the drum. They're both in pretty good shape, at least on this side. I can put it all back together, and I should have brakes here. So that's what I'm going to do. Obviously I need to clean it up a little bit, but I'm hoping I can get everything disassembled enough that I can actually remove the wheel cylinder and then rebuild it. First wheel cylinder is out. I figured I'd show you guys why I can't just throw some brake fluid in it and pump the pedal and drive it. Because look, there's one side, and this is the side that's not even supposed to have brake fluid in it. Well, that made a huge nasty mess. I got the pistons out, and wheel cylinder's not too bad. I can hone. Oh, luckily these don't do anything but hold the little pins that sit in here. They don't really seal anything. That's the job of the rubber that goes on the end of that spring. And yeah, so 1 down, 3 to go. Passenger side done. Go over to the driver's side. Shoes look great. Drum looks great. Everything looks great except for this. So, that is the outside wheel bearing for this front, and it's broken. I think the actual spindle is good. I think I just need a new bearing, but it's like, dang it, I was not planning on replacing that, but it looks like I'm gonna have to replace that because I can't. I'm missing a ball. I don't even know where that even went, and it's broken, so kind of out of luck. But this car is just like that Oldsmobile, it's fighting me every turn. Well, we're dead in the water until I get another wheel bearing. So I'm going to clean up, and then, you know what? Maybe I will run it a little bit more. I do know it's leaking a whole bunch of transmission fluid, so clearly that's going to be an issue, but can't do anything about it now. You guys ever laying under the car and just looking around doing something completely different when you notice something and you're like, what in the world? This is what I noticed. What's missing there? What was missing there? What's missing here? And again, what's missing there? It's the same on the other side. I have 6 body mounts on each side, and 4 of them are gone. So we're gonna replace them. Sadly, it ate up a huge chunk of my budget, but the only ones I could find were from Dan Chuck, which makes Tri-5 Chevy parts, and these are for a 55 Chevy. They work fine, and I saved some money by using these bolts. These are off of a C3 Corvette front suspension, but they're the right length, and they're the right thread. And then here's some more body washers used, and then some lock washers used. So as you can see, I've already installed one. It fits pretty well, and it's gonna work. So I couldn't drive it like that, you know what I mean? I couldn't drive it without almost all the body mounts in it. So
we're gonna do that.
All right, the time I think is here. So we'll start from the beginning. Cooling system, new hoses, 1,000 feet of heater hose, new thermostat, new water pump, new radiator cap. Should be good. Gas system, fuel system, rebuilt carburetor. I got a air cleaner for it. I installed a fuel filter. I blew out the fuel line that was in the car, so we are plumbed all the way to the back. And I didn't really record any of this, but there is a new gas tank and filler neck and sending unit. I also installed the electric fuel pump back here. I'm sure some will not like it, but you know what? It works, and it's what I had, and it was about $90 cheaper than rebuilding the stock one, so that is in. I did wire it up to the ignition switch with a fuse in it, so fingers crossed we won't have any issues. Don't think we will. The next thing that I did was, the ghetto gas pedal. So no judgment, but the gas pedals are attached to the floor, and of course this one's rotted out, so I couldn't. Here's the old one, it had broken in half anyway. So there's nothing really I could do other than, you know, make this little temporary deal right here, but it works. So it definitely runs the carburetor like it should, starts the car like it should. I did have to adjust this linkage quite a bit to get it to work. I don't know why it was so out of whack, but I think part of it was that the bracket back there was bent. But now it works like it should. Again, ignition system, cap rotor, plugs, wires. Coil is original. I did get a new bearing for this and installed that. It was really boring, put it in. Other than that, I think we're good. I'm gonna put the tires on, air them up, put the car on the ground, and then fingers crossed, today we should move. One last thing I did forget. I had to buy this piece. It was broken. I got that from Brown Auto Salvage. I don't know if you guys follow him, but exactly what I needed. Now the hood latches like it should, so we should have no problem. All right. Here we go. You know what, the no power steering isn't as bad as I thought it would be. Alright, we have no speedometer. We have oil pressure. I have no temp gauge anymore. That's weird. Dust off the brakes. Oh no! My door flew open. There, now it's shut. Nope, not shut. Alright, the driver's door does not close. The driver's door rattles, these hubcaps in the bottom rattle. We're doing it though. broken piece of glass in there that's rattling around like crazy. Sounding pretty good. Still probably needs a little bit of tuning, but that's okay. Pop the hood, check under here. It's weird using the real hood pop. So far so good. It's kind of chilled out a little bit. Idle might be a little high, but again, I did put it up. We could probably adjust it just a tad. But she's moving, man. She's going. Get her back home. Do a once over. Oh, this seat. Watch this, guys. Horn still works. All right. Oh, it's not like reverse. Okay, this forward. Uh-oh. Put you guys up here. But I can drive low. Well, we're just gonna have to drive through this guy's property. Sorry, guy. We got an exhaust leak. I put like 5 or 6 quarts. There goes the door again. Oh, we're gonna have to fix that. I put like 5 or 6 quarts of training fluid in it, but that doesn't mean anything. My temp gauge has started working, so that's good. Temp gauge works, oil gauge works. I guess my amp works, maybe. I don't know. It's right in the middle. I don't think it works. Definition of rattle trap is this car. I don't know why I didn't want to go in reverse. There it goes. It's not used to moving. That's pretty much what it is. Like park. See if the idle's too high. No, just right. Well, there you go. He made his first drive around the block. How well? Don't know. What do you guys think? That transmission is still kind of iffy. Not really sure about it, but again, I haven't spent much time driving it around. And I don't know how they shift. I mean, if it was like a turbo 350, I know you have 3 shifts and you can count them for a Dynaflow or a Dynaslush or whatever they call them. I have no idea if they're even supposed to shift or not. So, but other than that, I feel like everything that I touched actually went fairly well. But let's see if I met my budget. All right, there it is. You guys saw this beast drive basically up and down the street, but it did what I wanted it to do. It runs, it drives, and it stops. Believe it or not, after driving it, or at least starting it 5 or 6 more times, I mean, it starts right up, it idles fine, and there's no smoke that comes out anymore. And yeah, really no more problems other than a huge transmission leak. But we're gonna go over numbers. So down below in the description, I'm gonna write this all out so you guys can see it. But basically, I wrote down everything that I bought for this car, and so we have spent $17 on ignition parts, $21 on a carb kit, $14 on an oil filter, $30 on a gas pedal, $100 for the extra eBay carburetor, $21 on electric fuel pump, $14 on a gasket kit, $300 on a gas tank sender, $63 on tank straps, $136 on a water pump. From Rock Auto, I got a whole bunch of parts, which were a lot of the things like the brake parts and the cooling system parts and all that kind of stuff. That was $161, and $17 for another oil filter so I can get a gasket, $15 for the air cleaner, $42 in hose, $71 on body mounts, and then $75 on the hood latch support, and $16 on the wheel cylinder that I couldn't get the bleeder out of. So that's a grand total of $1,116.54. So yes, it was over $1,000, but just bear with me. Most cars aren't missing all their body mounts, so you subtract $71 from the $1,116, you're really close to $1,000. We could even argue the fact that the hood latch support wasn't really required to drive it. Technically, I could have like tied it down. And that's, that takes $75 out. That's $140 together. It ran and drove for under $1,000. So it depends on how you guys want to interpret that, but I think it's a win. I mean, it starts right up and it sounds awesome. So to end this video, I'm going to show you guys that. We're going to do it on camera. So basically, you open the door. You turn the ignition on. There you go. That was kind of an awkward start with my foot. I was falling over while I did it. Starts right up. The other thing, last thing, is the amp gauge started to work, which means my generator magically fixed itself. That's super weird.